from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at the ChannelEye Rupavahini Corporation. We are ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I am Charita Minaprarachi.
And I'm Kasani Balachandra. Here are your top stories for tonight.
Vehicles that are unregistered for over 5 years will be blacklisted. Officers of the Consumer Affairs Authority are on a strike. The Finance Secretary pledges the courts to not sell telecom shares until the 15th of July. Opposition groups meet in Parliament. A-level answer scripts of 12 subjects will be evaluated. 22 were killed in a boat tragedy in India. Yupunabekon records another international victory.
And we move on to those and other stories in detail. And in your top local story tonight, the Department of Motor Traffic says that a decision has been taken to blacklist the vehicles that have not been registered for a period of 5 years.
Commissioner General of Motor Traffic Nishanta Anuruddha Singh says that a census on such vehicles will be carried out. There are about 8.3 million vehicles registered under the department. However, only 6 million vehicles have been registered to obtain fuel quota. Accordingly, about 2 million vehicles are not in use at present or decommissioned at present. Department of Motor Traffic says gathering information on such vehicles is being carried out these days with the support of provincial councils. Commissioner General of Motor Traffic Nishant Anuruddha Singh says that the vehicles that have not been registered for over 5 years will be blacklisted. As a first step, a check-up will be carried out whether the vehicles are still in use. If not in use, the information will be removed from the information system. General Trade Union of the Consumer Affairs Authority made a complaint at the police headquarters regarding the assault to the officials of the authority during a raid at the poultry farm at Hirigolla in Narammala area.
The trade union demands the arrest of the leader of the group that is responsible for the assault. General Secretary of the Trade Union of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Ajit Jasindar, and several others handed over the complaint to the police headquarters. 9 CAA officials, including the Kurunegala district officer, were injured in an assault committed by an armed group during an inspection in a poultry farm in Narammala under a charge of selling eggs at higher prices. General Secretary of the Trade Union of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Ajit Jasindar, said that only few accomplices have been remanded. However, the assault was organized by the owner of the farm. We demand that he should also be brought before the law. Meanwhile, officers of the Consumer Affairs Authority staged a protest in front of the headquarters of the authority against this incident. Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Shantini Rana, also commented on this incident. Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Shantini Rana, said that measures will be taken to get the support of police and the armed forces for the protection of the officials when conducting raids.
The suspect of killing a businesswoman of a timber store and a worker in Atharugiri has been taken into custody by the Atharugiri police at Koralavella area in Moratua yesterday. The suspect had attempted to grab the gold necklace of the businesswoman. In the commission, a worker of the timber store had also helped the woman to escape from the suspect. However, the suspect had attacked them with a sharp weapon and the woman died on the spot, and the worker with fatal injuries admitted to the hospital and later succumbed to his injuries. The police arrested the 29-year-old suspect and he had pawned the necklace at a sum of 450,000 rupees. The police have also discovered the receipt and some clothes of the suspect.
It is reported that 10 patients who underwent eye surgeries at the Nuwara District General Hospital have impaired their vision. Director of the hospital consultant Dr. Mahendra Seneviratna says that the cause for the problem may be due to a medicine imported from India which had been contaminated with germs. 30 patients have had cataract surgeries at the Nuwara District General Hospital. However, out of the group, 10 patients have had this problem. An eye drop given to the patients is suspected to be toxic. These patients have come back to the hospital complaining that they have lost their eyesight completely. Consultant Dr. Mahendra Senviratna says, however, the patients are now gradually recovering from the eyesight at present.
The Supreme Court fixed the date of 5th July this year to hear the fundamental rights petition filed requesting to conduct an investigation against the individuals who are responsible for the current economic crisis. The petition has been filed against a group of respondents including former finance ministers Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa. The petition was summoned today before a 5-member bench of judges. President's Counsel Chandra Sundara, appearing for the complaint, pointed out that former governors of the central bank Ajit Nibad Kabral and Professor W.D. Lakshman and other officials of department under the Central Bank of Sri Lanka have not yet forwarded the relevant documents to the courts. Appearing for the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, however, President's Counsel Romesh De Silva said that all documents ordered by the courts have already been presented. Secretary to the Ministry of Finance has pledged the Supreme Court not to sell the shares of Sri Lanka Telecom belongs to the government until the 15th of June this year. The Financial Secretary made this pledge with the petition filed by 2 trade union activists against the sale of shares of the Sri Lanka Telecom was summoned today. Deputy Solicitor General appearing for the Ministry of Finance informed the courts that the transfer of telecom shares is totally legal. The Colombo High Court today sentenced a 10-year-old rigorous imprisonment to a suspect who was proven guilty for a charge for sexually abusing a aged girl. In addition, the courts imposed a fine of 5,000 rupees and compensation of 200,000 rupees to be paid for the affected girl. 2 petitions have been filed before the Supreme Court requesting to declare the Provincial Council Election Amendments Bill, which was submitted to the Parliament by TNA parliamentarian M.A. Sumanthirun, as detrimental to the Constitution. The petitioner's chairman of the Patriotic National Movement, Dr. Gunadasa Amarasekura, and businesswoman Jahan Hamid have been cited, the Attorney General and the parliamentarian M.A. Sumanthirun, as the respondents of this case.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was in London to participate in the coronation ceremony of King Charles III, paid homage to the Buddhist temple in London yesterday and engaged in religious rites. The President made a courtesy call on the chief incumbent of the Vihara and the chief Sanganayak of Great Britain, Venerable Dr. Bogada Sila Vimalathera, and engaged in a brief discussion inquiring about his well-being. During the meeting, the Mahasangha led by Venerable Sila Vimalathera chanted Pirit and invoked blessings on President Wickremesinghe. The President also had a friendly conversation with the Sri Lankans who had come to the London Buddhist temple. 4 Rover Scouts from the Sri Lanka Scout Association representing Sri Lanka at the coronation camp organised by the Scout Association United Kingdom called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe in London yesterday. The 4 Scouts who represented Sri Lanka Scouts at the coronation were Shalini Pereira, Arita Bandara, Asel Bandara and Sarith Fernando. The President and the 4 Scouts engaged in a cordial conversation on the role of young people in taking on the country's future leadership, where the President encouraged the Scouts to actively engage in national and global concerns, including the global climate crisis. This meeting was organized according to the request of the Chief Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Scouts Association, Attorney at Law Janaprith Fernando.
The European Union delegation will brief Sri Lanka on the EU GSP regulation to be adopted for the next 10 years. Briefing the bill will be presented at the 25th session of the Joint Commission between Sri Lanka and the European Union, scheduled to be held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Colombo tomorrow. The meeting will be co-chaired by Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Aruni Vijayawardena and Deputy Managing Director for Asia and the Pacific of the European External Action Service of the EU, Paola Pampoloni. The Joint Commission will deliberate on a broad range of bilateral and commissional multilateral issues of mutual interest to both sides and discuss areas for future cooperation. The outcome of the 3 working groups established under the Joint Commission, namely the Working Group on Governance, Rule of Law and Human Rights, the Working Group on Trade and Economic Cooperation and the Working Group on Development Cooperation will also be discussed in detail during the meeting. The European Union delegation will brief on the new cycle of the EU GSP regulation to be adopted for 2024-2033, which will be effective from January 1st, 2024 for the next 10 years. The Sri Lanka delegation will consist of representatives of various ministries, including the Finance Ministry and the Attorney General's Department, as well as the senior officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The previous session of the Joint Commission meeting was held in February 2022 in Brussels.
And now for a few more local news items in brief. USAID has come forward to provide required technical facilities in the Ceylon Electricity Board restructuring process. The team of experts arrived in the island, including power and energy consultant Arindam Ghosh, who met Minister Kanchana Wijesekara this morning. After the relevant bill was passed in Parliament, the USAID team will provide the technical support to prepare the restructuring plan within the next 8 weeks. The Department of Examinations says that evaluating of A-level answer scripts in 12 subjects has already begun. Federation of University Teachers Association stopped their trade union actions and allowed its members to commence evaluating answer scripts. The Commissioner General of Examinations requests the university teachers and other parties to expedite the evaluation process and contribute to release A-level results without delay. 7 persons who have stolen a stock of electrical appliances and sold them at lower prices have been arrested by the police. They had stolen these electric items from a warehouse belonging to an agency at Loluagoda in Galle. The stock of stolen electric items is amounting to over 10 million rupees. Leading businessman Niroshan Kahawata has been appointed as the new chairman of Sri Lanka-America Association in Southern California, USA. He was sworn into the post in Los Angeles recently. The Sri Lanka-America Association in the Southern California marks the 50th anniversary this year. New chairman Niroshan Kahawata hopes to implement many programs for the well-being of Sri Lankans. Mr. Kahawata has once served as a producer in the Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. Apollo Hospital has started a relief service for the patients free of charge. The network in this regard was launched under the patronage of Minister Kehelia Ramakwala recently. Students of 2 remote schools in the LPT Divisional Secretariat area were provided with school equipment, including exercise books, today. 50 Buddhist monks conducted a Pindapatha Charika in the Alpitia town limit to collect these items. The Buddha Rashmi National Vesak Festival, organized at the Hunupitiya Gangarama Temple premises and the surrounding areas, concluded this morning.
The national television was the official media sponsor of this Vesak song. Large crowds gathered at the Buddha Rashmi National Vesak Song for the past 3 days. Vesak decorations, lanterns and pandals, dancehall, bhakti concerts and many other religious events commenced at this Vesak Song. Vesak celebrations were also held at the Shangri-La Green and the Presidential Secretariat premises during the past 3 days. The persons who displayed their Vesak creations at the Buddha Rashmi National Vesak Song were honoured with prizes and certificates yesterday.
තරඟ කරුවන් රසක් අභිභූමි ඔබේ බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි එමගිත පවසනො මොවි ඔබේ බුද්ධං සරණං
Many programs have been organized island-wide to mark the Vesak festival. Our correspondents say that large crowds are participating in various religious programs and observances to mark Vesak. The Vesak Maha Perahara, organized by the historic Kappitipula Sri Subhadra Rama Temple in Valimada, paraded the streets in Kappitipula town. A vehicle inspection free of charge was held at the Giriul area yesterday. Old Students Forum of the Japan Automobile Engineering Training Institute in Colombo organized this free service. Villagers and Pereira Foundation at Tanna area in Matale have created an automatic elephant holding a casket on its back. In addition, 2 dansals have been organized at this premises. The doctors and the staff of the Bandaragama Hospital also organized Vesak celebrations at the hospital. Religious observances and an exposition of Buddha relics were also held there. A stock of bed linen was also donated to the hospital by the Bandaragama police station. This is the Giriula Vesak zone organized for the 16th occasion. The Rice Dansala of the zone will be conducted for 7 days until the 14th of this month. Buddha statues were brought to the Sakura Abesan temple in Japan on the Vesak day. Vesak decorations and lanterns, Bhakti concerts and almsgivings and many activities have been organized there under the patronage of Sri Lankan Ambassador to Japan, Rodney Pereira.
Sri Lanka, together with Thailand, co-hosted a commemorative event to mark the International Day of Vesak at the United Nations office in Geneva on Vesak Full Moon Day. The event was commended with the opening remarks by co-hosts Ambassador Himali Arunatilaka and Thai Ambassador Shiputra Shri Maitri Pitak, highlighting the importance of the Day of Vesak to millions of Buddhists around the world. Ambassador Arunatilaka underlined the key role played by Sri Lanka in gaining international recognition for the Day of Vesak through the resolution adopted by the consensus of the General Assembly in February 2000. Director General of the UNOJ Taitana will, via delivering the welcome address, remarks, recall the contribution the Buddhism has made to humanity and the relevance of the teachings of Buddha to overcome the global challenges of today. The keynote address by President of the Union of Thai Sangha in Europe, the Most Venerable Paravosala Vice, was delivered through the representative. Vesak Day message was also delivered by the permanent representatives of Bhutan, China, India, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal and Vietnam. The event was attended by many permanent representatives and diplomatic representatives from a number of countries. The event concluded with religious blessings delivered by the participating members of the Mahasangha.
Several parliamentarians representing the opposition parties met at the parliament today. The aim of the meeting was to discuss several drafted bills that will be presented in parliament during the week, which starts from tomorrow. Parliamentarian of Samagijana Balavegi and parliamentarians Dalasalha Peruma's faction were present at this meeting. Samagijana Balavegi parliamentarian Lakshman Kiryala said that there are 45 amendments towards the central bank bill. We have numerous views on these amendments. We will also meet at 2 p.m. tomorrow to take a final decision. Parliamentarian Charita Herat said that parliamentarians hold various opinions on the draft bill of the central bank and a debate on the Express Pearl incident and many other issues.
The Met Department says that showers or thunder showers will experience in the western, Sabaragamu, central, northwestern, southern and northern provinces and in Trincomalee district. A depression in the lower atmosphere over the Bay of Bengal Sea is also developing at present and may develop up to a low pressure area in the forthcoming 5 days. The Met Department says a low level of atmospheric disturbance has developed over the southeast Bay of Bengal. This system expected to develop into a low pressure area gradually and then into a cyclonic storm in next few days. Accordingly, the Met Department has requested the fishing and naval communities to be attentive for the future forecast over the weather situation. Showers or thunderstorms will occur at times in western, Sabaragamu, central, northwestern and northern provinces and in the Gol and Mantra districts. Showers will occur at several places in eastern and Uva provinces during the evening or night. Strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over western and southern coastal areas and the western slopes of the central hills. Landslide warnings have been issued due to the rainy conditions in the country. Accordingly, warnings have been issued for Passara division and surrounding areas in Badula district, Badegama, Nagoda, Alpitia and Yakalamulla divisions in Gol district, Yatiantota, Rambukkana, Mavanella, Galigamu divisions and surrounding areas in Kegol district, Ridhigama, Mavadagama, Alawa and Polgahavla divisions in Kurunagala district and Pallepula division in Mathale district. Stay tuned with more local stories after this break.
டெபிட் அட்டை, மொபைல் மற்றும் இன்டர்நெட் பேங்கிங், கார்ட்லெஸ் கேஷுடன் 10 நிமிடங்களில் வங்கிக் கணக்கை திறக்க முடியும். பீப்பிள்ஸ் பேங்க் டிஜிட்டல் பேங்கிங் உடன் இணையுங்கள்.
நல்ல நேரம் தெரிஞ்சு கொண்டேன், டீ குடிக்கிற நேரம் கூட போகல.
பீப்பிள்ஸ் பேங்க் டிஜிட்டல் பேங்கிங், உண்மையான சுதந்திரம்.
Welcome back, and in more local stories, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said there's a growing demand for fish products in Europe as well, as in countries including Japan and Sri Lankan fishing sector could cater to that demand by increasing fish production. He added that ChannelEye Foundation, as the largest boat builders in Sri Lanka, could make a major contribution by expanding fibre boat production. Speaking at the 55th anniversary celebrations of the ChannelEye Foundation at Sri Lanka Foundation in Colombo today, he said Sri Lanka should use sea resources including fish, as the future lies in increasing export of new products. Launching the ChannelEye website and the 5-year development plan, the Prime Minister said no establishment could grow without a plan of action, and it is very important that ChannelEye has presented a new 5-year plan and launching of the new website for expansion. The Prime Minister said it is essential to solve issues through dialogue and reach international agreements to expand fishing. He said Minister Douglas Devananda succeeded in solving the issue of Sri Lankan vessels crossing international boundaries by obtaining signal limiting equipment for fishing vessels to ensure they adhere to navigation laws under international maritime regulations. Premier Gunawardena congratulated the ChannelEye management, engineers, technicians and workers for their success and commitment and assured the government support for them.
Large crowds of foreign tourists are visiting the Alla tourism area these days. The business community in the area have taken steps to provide them a marvelous music experience. Alla has become a beautiful destination for the foreign tourists these days. The tourists are now having the opportunity to enjoy classical music of famous Italian maestro Tito's.
Final rites of late former Deputy Director General Engineering of Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Rohan Pereira, was held today at the Poralla General Cemetery. He was 65 years at the time of his demise. Rohan Pereira was considered as a pioneering technical officer in introducing television media in Sri Lanka. He started his career as a technical officer at the SLBC. Later in 1982, he joined the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation as a technical officer. He worked in collaboration with the Japanese engineers to set up TV transmitting equipment in the corporation. He has gained a wider knowledge in television broadcasting and had conducted training sessions for the technical officers in many private TV channels as well. He has also contributed his service in developing various technical systems to provide clear views of television signals. He is the 6th Deputy Director General of the Engineering Division of ChannelEye Rupavahini Corporation. A large crowd, including his family members and SLRC staff members, were present at the funeral. Foreign news on the other side of this break.
Prima Kutumi Fantamai.
Welcome back with international news. At least 22 people have died after a packed tourist boat capsized in Indian southern Kerala state. The death toll could rise as rescue efforts are still underway and the vessel is pulled from muddy waters. Overcrowding caused the vessel double-decked boat to capsize according to authorities. The boat was reportedly carrying about 50 people or double its capacity when it was overturned on Sunday night. The Kerala police registered a case of culpable homicide against the owner of the boat, who is reportedly absconding. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, expressing condolences on Twitter, says that he was pained by the loss of lives. Many passengers were trapped under the boat and the darkness held back rescue efforts, according to local media. The casualties included women and children on school holidays.
Vietnam has recorded its highest ever temperature, just over 44 degrees of Celsius, with experts predicting it would soon be surpassed because of climate change. Other countries in the region have also been experiencing extremely hot weather. The record was set in the northern province of Thanh Hoa in Vietnam, where officials warned people to stay indoors during the hottest times of the day. Thailand reported a record equaling 44.6 degrees of Celsius in its western Mak province. Meanwhile, Myanmar's media reported that a town in the east had recorded 43.8 degrees of Celsius, the highest temperature for a decade. Groups of wild animals were captured by cameras in the beginning of May, strolling in a nature reserve in northwest China. A sudden snowfall hit Bainkolin Mongolian prefecture in Xinjiang last week, covering the Alton Mountains National Nature Reserve in white. Wild yaks were seen walking around the wetlands at the foot of the snow-capped Alton Mountains, foraging for wild foods with white snow dotted on their black manes. Groups of wild Tibetan donkeys roamed around the wetlands in snow, sometimes stopped for a rest. The majestic snowy peaks, vast grasslands and groups of wild animals together formed a picturesque plateau scenery.
Prima Kutumi Fantamai.
Welcome back with your sports update. And Jupun Abekon has won the first place in the first race he took part in this year at the Little League tournament in Italy.
He won the first place of the 200 meters running event at the Spring Festival tournament at Firenze in Italy. He completed the event in 20.6 seconds.
Molto bene anche Ricci e bravo anche Furlani. Bene Furlani. Molto forte. Vediamo l'uscita della curva, adesso sta uscendo Beikun, Azu, Ricci, Furlani. Ancora Beikun, molto bene Beikun, cede Azu, bene Ricci, T61, Ricci non molto lontano.
Narvaniva Mahavidyalaya won the Women Championship in the Presidential Trophy Inter-School Football Tournament 2022. Maradana Zahira College became the men's champion. Final games of the tournament was held at the Sugatadasa Stadium in Colombo. Awarding ceremony was held under the patronage of Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe.
Prima Katami Fantamai.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do just tomorrow at the very same time. I'm Charita signing off with Kasuni. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.